You won't believe what happened next. A music legend, now 78, finally let the guard drop and spoke from the heart about the brother he adored and couldn't save. Imagine the voice that lit up dance floors across the planet, the pen behind more radio staples than most artists here in a lifetime, pausing to talk not about glory but about grief, love, and a promise that never fades. That's where our story begins. Right at the crossroads of fame and family, where the spotlight is blinding and the shadows are very real. If you've ever loved a song so much it felt like home, stick with me, because the man who helped write the soundtrack to entire decades is about to show you what the music was covering and why the truth, even this late, still matters. Born on September 1st, 1946, in Douglas on the Isle of Man, Barry Gibb grew up with melody stitched into his bones. From the time he was a kid, he wasn't just humming along. He was shaping songs, experimenting with harmonies, and noticing how a room changes when voices lock in just right. His family could see it. His brothers could feel it. There was a spark firing inside him that would one day become a blaze. And when the family's path carried them from the British Isles to Australia, that fire didn't dim. It meant new air, new stages, new chances to test out what would soon become one of pop's most unmistakable sounds. Those early performances weren't glamorous. They were earnest, small venues, local shows, the kind of nights where you haul your own gear and pray the microphones don't squeal. But everything changed once Barry Gibb, Robin Gibb, and Maurice Gibb found the heartbeat that made them them. The blend wasn't just pretty, it was magnetic. Call it chemistry, call it blood, call it destiny, whatever it was, it pulled listeners closer. When they returned to the UK and began cutting records that actually traveled, first across Britain, then across the world, their lives accelerated. And at the center of that hurricane stood Barry Gibb, the quiet architect, pushing forward, arranging parts, writing hooks, and learning how to steer a ship through open seas and storms alike. By the late 1960s and into the 1970s, the name the world knew, Bee Gees, was everywhere. And when the era of mirror balls and weekend fever hit, Barry Gibb's falsetto didn't just cut through the mix, it lifted from the speakers like light-off polished chrome. Stayin' alive! How Deep Is Your Love? Night Fever. These weren't just hits, they were chapters. You can hear where you were the first time each one met your ears. And still, even while the band was building an era-defining catalog, Barry Gibb kept writing for others. He seemed to have a second studio running in his mind, a place where melodies clocked in around the clock. He penned and produced for powerhouses like Barbra Streisand, Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers, Diana Ross, and Dionne Warwick, proving the songs weren't trapped in any one lane. Pop, R&B, country, adult contemporary. He could live in all of them and bring something golden to each. It takes a special kind of songwriter to keep finding the center of a song for years, then decades, then more decades still. Barry Gibb did it over and over, crossing the 1,000-song mark like it was just another milestone on a long road. If you've ever chased creative work, you know that kind of output isn't normal. It's a test of stamina, curiosity, humility, and the willingness to throw out 10 ideas to find the one that hums. The recognition followed, of course. Those Hall of Fame moments aren't just trophies, they're acknowledgments that a life's work mattered to millions. But with Barry Gibb, you get the sense the awards were footnotes compared to the music itself and the family that lived close to its rhythm. And family, here's where the spotlight feels different. The Bee Gees weren't just bandmates, they were brothers. That bond gave the music its bite, its ache, its confidence, but it also meant that each triumph and each wound traveled a very short distance to land straight on the heart. The losses came one by one, and if you've ever been the sibling who stayed, you know how that story feels. The guilty gratitude of outliving someone you love, the silence where a voice used to be. Barry Gibb ended up the last brother standing. He has said in different ways that the music is how they all still speak to each other, that playing the songs keeps the conversation going. It's a beautiful idea, and it's heavy. Before we get to the moment of truth about Andy Gibb, it's worth stepping through the path that shaped Barry Gibb, the person. He married young, the first time, to Maureen Bates, back in the 1960s, right as his name was starting to ping around radio stations and industry offices. It was a union born in youth and ambition, and like a lot of such stories in the hard glare of pop culture, it didn't last. Their marriage ended a few years later, and life moved. Then, during a taping of a music show in London, one of those nights where worlds collide, Barry Gibb met Linda Gray. She was poised, kind, glamorous, without being distant. He was 24. On his birthday, September 1st, 1970, they married, trading the spectacle of the business for something steadier and far more intimate, the daily work of building a life together. If you want to understand how a star stays grounded, meet the people who know him before the encore and after the lights cut out. Linda Gray became that anchor. Together, they raised 5 children: Stephen Gibb, Ashley Gibb, Travis Gibb, Michael Gibb, and Alexandra Gibb, and over the years, a growing crew of grandchildren. You can spot the pride when he talks about them. It's a softer light, a private kind of joy that doesn't need a stage. In 2009, Barry Gibb and Linda Gray became U.S. citizens while keeping their UK heritage, a neat symbol of a life lived across borders. British roots, American chapters, plenty of stamps in the passport, but always a home to return to. There's also the circle of artist friends that weave through his story, including a fascinating chapter with Michael Jackson. Picture it, one of the most famous musicians on earth choosing, more than once, to crash at the Gibb home in Miami, rather than deal with hotel circus life. In that house, the spotlight got dimmer and the music got simpler. 2 friends hanging out, writing, talking, trying to catch that spark that grows into a song. That's the secret part of the business most people never see. Yes, there are arenas and award nights, but there are also kitchen table laughs, late-night chords, a glass of wine, and ideas that drift into the room when you're not forcing them. Another chapter in the life of Barry Gibb came wrapped in wood and history. The Lakeside, Tennessee home that had belonged to Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash. In 2006, he bought that property not as a trophy, but as a dream, a place where songwriters could gather and create, a kind of living retreat for music to find its voice again. It didn't work out the way he imagined. A year later, while renovations were underway, a fire tore through and erased the structure. If you've ever lost a place that meant something to you, you know that sting. He rebuilt on the land, tried to make peace with the loss, and eventually let the property go. What stayed was the intention, a belief that spaces can hold music, that a house can call songs to it if the people inside listen closely enough. Now, the truth you came for. For years, when the subject of Andy Gibb floated into interviews, Barry Gibb would smile and keep things graceful. He'd celebrate the voice, pure pop sunshine, the charm, the effortless way Andy Gibb could walk on stage and make the room feel like it had known him forever. He'd talk about writing and producing for him, about the thrill of watching your younger brother fly with hits like I Just Want to Be Your Everything and Shadow. Dancing. What he didn't do, not really, was open the door to the harder parts that changed when time, age, experience, the clarity that comes when you've said goodbye to too many people, gave him permission to speak more plainly. Here's the thing about rising fast. You don't always have time to grow the roots you need. Andy Gibb was blindingly talented and adored. The world seemed to tilt in his direction. But behind that glow, there was a fragile side, a sensitive heart, a need to be loved, a craving for acceptance that fame can endlessly tease but never really satisfy. Barry Gibb could see it. He'd been in the chaos himself, but he had his brothers right there, shoulder to shoulder, a team that could buffer the shockwaves. Andy Gibb was the baby of the family, stepping into the same fire without the same armor. Fame didn't break Andy Gibb on its own. It never does, but it amplifies every pressure, offers every temptation, and shouts down the quiet voice that says, slow down. Barry Gibb, in reflecting on those years, finally allowed himself to admit the part that hurts the most, that love isn't always the cure you want it to be. The family tried. They supported, guided, encouraged, pulled back, leaned in, and did it all again in different combinations. If you've ever watched someone you love wrestle with addiction, you know the rhythm of that dance: hope, fear, relief, disappointment, repeat. It's a heavy clock that doesn't keep time like normal life. When Andy Gibb died in March 1988, just 5 days after his 30th birthday, the shock didn't wear off. It sunk in. Grief like that doesn't end. It changes shape. Barry Gibb has carried that absence for decades, and in finally speaking more openly about it, he revealed the questions he still asks himself. Could he have done more, said it differently, been tougher, been gentler? The older sibling responsibility is a peculiar thing. You feel the wins deeply, and the losses even deeper, as if leadership were destiny and you failed it by not bending fate to your will. But fate doesn't bend for anyone, not even the people who write the songs the world sings. Yet the story of Andy Gibb isn't just tragedy, it's also joy. And that's what Barry Gibb wants you to remember. The kid was funny. He was warm. He had that look that told you he was listening. He loved the work. He adored the applause, sure, but more than that, he loved connecting. Seeing the emotion move through an audience like a wave and knowing he helped start it. And in the memories Barry Gibb shares now, you can feel both truths resting side by side. A brilliant star who lit up every room, and a sensitive soul who needed more shelter than he found. This is where the music comes back in. For Barry Gibb, every performance is a conversation with the brothers who aren't physically on stage anymore. It's not mystical, it's practical. Play the harmony a certain way and you can hear Robin Gibb answering you. Let the rhythm lean left and there's Maurice Gibb counting you in. Sing a tender line and you might catch a flash of Andy Gibb's smile. The setlist becomes a family album and the audience, knowingly or not, makes space for all of them, clapping for more than they realize. With that openness about Andy Gibb has come a new kind of peace. Not the kind that erases pain, but the kind that lets you name it, sit with it, and carry it without pretending it isn't heavy. Barry Gibb's resilience isn't some tough guy armor, it's grace. It's getting older and choosing honesty over image, tenderness over posture. It's the wisdom to say that success matters, legacy matters, but love, messy, complicated, sometimes heartbreaking, matters most. That's why he keeps the songs alive, because they hold the love. They're proof that the brothers built something together that even loss can't dismantle. If you've been around long enough, you know careers have arcs. The early hustle, the big break, the golden run, the reinventions. Barry Gibb has lived all those acts and then some, but the act he's performing now, the one where he looks back with clear eyes and speaks softly about the people he's lost, might be the bravest. And there's no chart to chase here, no radio single to secure, no tour to hype. Just truth. A brother saying at last the things most families keep tucked away. That's a gift to the rest of us who don't have microphones but still need permission to tell our own hard truths. Think about the force of his falsetto for a moment. How daring it was when he first made it a signature. Singing that high and that open requires trust. It's vulnerable. You can't hide in a falsetto. It either rings or it breaks. The same courage it took to sing like that is the courage it takes to talk like this. To admit that the brightest days of fame came with nights that were heavy. To admit that not every story gets a neat ending. And yet, listen closely, and you'll hear that same shimmer of hope underneath. The belief that music keeps people close, even across years and miles and everything that separates us. In the quiet moments outside the public eye, Barry Gibb is still at heart the songwriter. Tuning the guitar, humming a line, asking, what if the chord goes here? The body of work he's left us is absurdly large, yes, but it's also incredibly human. It charts a life, love found and held, brothers lost, children raised, friendships treasured, dreams pursued and homes built and rebuilt as seasons changed. Between the records and the family photos, you can map a full person, not just a headline. That's rarer than it should be. So when he speaks now about Andy Gibb, he's not tearing down a myth. He's rounding it out. He's saying, remember the laughter along with the sorrow. Remember the brilliance along with the battles. Remember the brother, not just the icon or the cautionary tale. He's also, in some way, talking to all of us who've known someone like Andy Gibb, someone enchanted and endangered by the same bright light. He's reminding us that empathy lives right next to accountability, that care can be fierce and gentle at the same time, and that grief doesn't mean the story stops. It means we keep telling it in a way that honors the person we miss. If you've ever stood backstage, literally or metaphorically waiting for your cue while carrying something heavy in your chest, this is your cue. Take a breath. Step out. Say what's true for you. The applause isn't the point. The honesty is. That's the lesson hidden inside Barry Gibb's late-in-life candor. It's not a scandal, not a reveal designed to shock. It's a brother putting words around love, because love, when named clearly, can be shared and maybe even heal somebody who hears it at the right moment. And that brings us back to the songs, the ones that turn Saturday nights into memories, that played at weddings and road trips, and whenever you needed a lift, they're still here. They still do their job. The gift of a great song is that it carries more than a melody. It carries people. It carries the ones who made it, the ones who love it, and the ones we wish were still here to sing it. Play them loudly, dance in the kitchen. Tell someone you love that you love them. That's the legacy Barry Gibb has been writing this whole time, even when we didn't realize it. If this story moved you, if you felt the ache and the warmth and the courage tucked into it, don't slip away quietly. Drop a comment about the first Barry Gibb or Bee Gees song that hooked you, or a memory of Andy Gibb's voice that still gives you chills. Hit like if you want more deep dives that look past the headlines and into the heart. And subscribe so you don't miss the next time we trace the real lives behind the legends. The music's playing, let's keep listening together.